Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling Art with Chris Things.
Ray! Do the hammerlock! I do the hammerlock! Ray! Do the hammerlock, you turkey necks! Yeah, do the hammerlock! I do the hammerlock!
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Episode 16 of Wrestling Art with Chris Things. I am Chris Things, your host this week and every week. We're back. It's the Match of the Week edition of the show once again. This week we only have one to talk about. If you dig the double thing, I think they'll be coming up more often, but just the one this time. We've got Yuji Nagata versus Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, two of my all-time favorite professional wrestlers in a bout from All Elite Wrestling. This one takes place a little over a week ago, the 27th of January, in Bossier City, Louisiana. Maybe did that wrong. I'm not all that up with my Cajun pronunciations, but man, tremendous match. I'm looking forward to chatting all about that with a returning semi-frequent special guest of the show, Cousin Ben, to talk about that one. We both share a lot of love for Yuji Nagata, Mr. IWGP, so I thought Ben would be a good one to have on to talk about that. But outside of that, a little bit of what I've had going on. I mentioned last time about getting back to updating the old portfolio, which is an important thing for an illustrator. And in doing that, a funny part of it that I got up to was, I'm obviously putting, some of the different works and illustrations and different projects that I'm quite proud of over the years. But, a funny part that I got up to was the part where I have to, write about, my art, my style, my accomplishments, basically having to kind of fluff myself up a bit, you know what I mean? And it got me thinking, because in general, I've never been a dude to want to hype up my art too much myself. I always think that I thought, hey, it's a bit gross. I don't want to be seen as like this egotistical kind of dude that's telling everyone, hey, come look at my art, please tell me good things about my art. This is good, right? I'm good. I've always had this dumb mentality where I'm like, don't put yourself over too much. Don't put yourself over too much. And where does that come from? What is that? Is it society telling us that we're not meant to? I guess boasting's bad, right? But I think there's a way to do it where you need to be able to confidently talk about your art. For any creative out there, really, you need to be able to talk about it and say, hey, I am actually really proud of this. I feel good about this work that I'm doing. I feel like I'm really making progress, and I feel like that art is capable of honestly like bringing a lot of value. Being that to people who are commissioning me to do something, people that are buying an artwork, or businesses, if I was doing illustration work for them, editorial stuff, whatnot. So yeah, I don't know, I thought it'd be this fun, a weird thing to kind of talk about, to be like, maybe we shouldn't be afraid to tell people you know, what I do I think is awesome. And as you can probably tell, I'm still a bit weird about that. You know, it's still a work in progress, I guess. But I mean, hey, that's part of this, the idea of doing this podcast as well. To be honest, it's getting to use this as a bit of a personal journal that I share with the world. But yeah, and sort of getting better at being able to talk about my art in an authentic kind of manner. So, you know, I'm working on it. You know, another thing, it sort of does make me quite happy when I look back on previous projects. You know, and that's been part of doing this portfolio as well. You're looking back on a lot of stuff, and I think we can get caught in the mentality of like, okay, you're only as good as the last thing you did. Look forward, don't look back. But I think every now and then it's actually really good to be able to sort of, you know, reset, to look back and be like, hey, I almost forgot about that really cool thing that I did. I am proud of that. You know, I'm gonna, you know, log that in my head for the next thing that I do. I mean, a big part, obviously, as I've been talking about a little bit lately, has been the Way of the Blade book. Looking back at that original one as we approach the new AEW edition, which I believe should be being released in the next little while. I'll obviously keep you all on the up and up with that, but yeah, sort of I've continued this thing along where I am, you know, releasing another illustration, another favorite illustration that I've had each week as we go along to approaching the new book, and man, it's actually been a really cool process because again, like, you're having people react to this thing that I did years ago. You know, I did these illustrations for the book release, I think back in like 2020 is when I would have done a lot of these illustrations. So, you know, it's been a really cool process, and sort of getting back to what I was saying earlier of being able to look back, to reflect, but then not only just me looking at it, actually getting to see the reactions of like a whole bunch of different people who've all, you know, you guys have been so complimentary of every one of these that I've been dropping, and I really appreciate the kind words. This latest match that I got up to was a Lucha Underground bout. And I don't know how many of y'all are that familiar with Lucha Underground, but I remember loving this company. It was like a Robert Rodriguez project that somehow mashed up the world of professional wrestling and lucha libre with like a Planet Terror Dust Before Dawn kind of like vibe. This like dusty venue known as the Temple. It's basically like an underground a lucha libre fight club. So great. And I just loved everything about this. Again, that the tone, the retro feel, the every time the dudes would like hit the mat, they like, I don't know what they added to this mat to give it this like old dusty kind of like feel, but you could see like the dust like rising up into the light. It was just beautiful, so wonderfully shot. Just I loved it. But then the matches as well, you know, outside of everyone always puts over the great storytelling and the vignettes and everything like that, but the actual wrestling was so badass, and I think opened up a lot of people's eyes to how great a lot of the, you know, then current lucha libre, like contemporary lucha libre talent was. A lot of them from AAA at the time. You know, dudes like like Pentagon Jr., like Ray Fenix, like even like Jack Evans and Helico, but a dude like Mil Muertes, who, I was a big fan of that dude's back to his days as Ricky Banderas or Messias from his rad feud with Vampiro back in the day in AAA, but. I feel like a lot of people might have forgotten about him. But this match, this grave consequences casket match, just, oh my gosh. I legit think this is the greatest casket match of all time. The idea that a dude gets put in a coffin and then he actually is dead in their storyline canon. Amazing. But this is just the most tremendous match. Just a bloody David versus Goliath brawl, just in all the best ways. I really miss Lucha Underground. But yeah, you can check out that illustration and the rest at christhings.com.au if you'd like to purchase a Prinsky. Celebrate your love for Lucha Underground, like I feel that love. But I think that's about it for my Chris Things monologue of the week. I think it's time for us to talk some Yuji Nagata versus Bryan Danielson. All right, let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have a returning special guest on the line. Cousin Ben, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Good to be back.
You're very welcome. Though this is one where we're not talking about All Japan, sadly.
Very true. But still a good match.
Yes, indeed. You've sort of become our unofficial All Japan correspondent. But, I mean, in some other ways, you kind of like that dude for AEW, for me anyway, really. You're generally keeping me on my toes, let me know what's good going on in the world of for All Elite Wrestling.
Very true. There is a bit more now than there has been in the past.
Yeah, I feel like they're finally doing some really good, consistent stuff, which I'm pretty stoked about. And most of all, the fact that, I think I've said to you before, I love that at his core, I think Tony Khan is like a weird wrestling nerd like us. So,
100%.
It's like really cool to see him like booking these insane, like, Fire Pro wrestling matches like Danielson and Nagata or like Danielson and Rey Hechicero most recently.
Oh, 100%. It's like the fairy tale swan song to Danielson being a full-time wrestler, and TK's making every possible match happen.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I like the Dave Meltzers and the Brian Alvarez's don't necessarily seem as it's like, why are they booking? It's like, well, it's pretty simple. The matches are going to be great. Well, actually, that's more Brian.
But yeah, I was going to say, is this sort of specific to any matches in particular?
It's more like the Danielson v Nagata. I think it was like, or was it the Hechicero one? Was like they didn't sort of see the point of it.
Right.
But then it's like, well, if you watched a bit more and you see it looks like BCC might be going to Arena Mexico, it's like, well, just a little tease of what is to come.
Exactly. I mean, this may be something to speak about in future weeks, more on the Hechicero front, but at least relating to Yuji Nagata. I mean, that's a big part of why I thought you would be perfect to have on, because, I am a massive Yuji Nagata fan, going back to, I still tell everyone I think he's the greatest IWGP heavyweight champion of all time. But it seems like less and less these days that people know the greatness of Yuji Nagata.
No, they sort of seem to forget how good he was and how good he still is when it comes down to it. It's like, there's no one these days, besides maybe Suzuki, at his age, that can pump out a 15-minute match with the key features the same, but it gets over the crowd every single time.
Man, I love it so much.
It's just a swan song of seeing the bits of greatness and still how smooth he is in the ring. And it was like the perfect thing is like when Eddie Kingston's on commentary, just purely marking out to Nagata throughout the entire 15, 16-minute match. It was so good to see. It gave that little extra to it as well.
It just warms my heart. Hey, I mean, I'm very partial to that whole New Japan third generation. Like from Nagata to, Kojima, who's also doing really rad stuff at the moment and has been for the last 2 years. And also my boys Tenzan and Nakanishi.
Oh, 100%. Like, you sort of forget what Kojima could do because of, like, those last 2 or 3 years where he was just doing New Japan, where he was just getting beaten, jobbing each week, putting guys over. Then when it started with that Noah run, then doing a few of the MLW, and then also a little All Japan run, it's like seeing how good he actually is when he's actually put in a position to actually have a decent match, not just getting jobbed out in a quick fashion.
Oh, absolutely. Not just working meaningless tags. But, I mean, you could say the exact same thing for Nagata now, right? Like a dude who, for the longest time in New Japan, was not put in a spotlight position, despite the fact that he can still bloody go anytime he's got that spotlight put on him. And then we've seen just a fantastic run in, Noah back in the day, but more recently in All Japan with that great Triple Crown Championship run, and then now in AEW, and as well, he's another dude that's popped up in MLW.
No, it's definitely good to see him actually getting out there and still just putting out little bangers. It's always nice to see. Not just staying at home doing those 8-man, multi-man, pointless matches in New Japan.
Yeah, so good. And I think this match in particular, this Danielson dream match, I think a big part of the appeal of it to me was that, like, so this is taking place in Louisiana, I think, in front of not the biggest crowd.
There's probably like 2,500, I think they said, maybe.
Oh, if that. Of Cajuns who I don't want to cast aspersions here, but I have a feeling most of these people are probably not the most familiar with Yuji Nagata. You know what I mean?
Oh, I tend to agree there.
But then that is, to me, the biggest compliment of this match, right? That you have a dude like Nagata that we, appreciate and love so much, but the fact that that he won over this crowd, got him going to such a degree, and I think that's both a compliment, obviously, to Nagata, but also to Danielson,
Oh, 100%. But it was just almost instantaneously, from once the match started, they were over and the crowd was hot for the entire match. It was just... it may have helped a little with the Danielson cutting off Eddie Kingston for his celebration of the win, which I found was fucking hilarious. Playing his music, just chopping it off, and then coming down, it may have got the crowd a little going, but it played in and they just didn't lose it the entire match. It just went from... It had that nice little place where they were feeling each other out at the start and then just started to accelerate and was just fucking good to watch.
Oh, fantastic. Really? And I mean, there's something I want to say for AEW fans. In a lot of ways, I think they kind of remind me a bit of like WCW fans from back in the day. Very unlike, your WWF, WWE kind of fans who are like, hey, if we don't know this guy based off his entrance or him getting like so many minutes on the mic or being in some convoluted storyline, we could give a fuck. The thing about WCW fans and AEW fans, I feel it's a big compliment, is they just like great professional wrestling.
Oh, I think the perfect example is at the Royal Rumble when there's like 25 songs that are basically the same. Nobody knew who the fuck was coming out of the ring. And it's like the crowd was dead for half the entrances because they had no idea who the hell was coming out. Except for like your big names where you got your Cody song or Punk song. It's like the others is like you couldn't pick them out of a fucking lineup. They're that similar and generic.
And that's kind of funny. You think about like just how reliant they are on that entrance pop and the big entrance thing that they're accustomed to watching on TV every week. It's so far removed from the actual wrestling element of it. It's like you're basically paying to see an entrance. It's weird.
Especially for the Rumble, that is the one type of thing. It's like the biggest thing of it. It's not what happens in the ring. It's the surprises that people enter. But if you don't know them, it's like, well, there's literally no pop because they cannot distinguish them apart.
Yeah, but I mean, this, and the other thing I think that really made this match in terms of getting the crowd into it was like, it was the fire. I think that to me is my favorite thing of this whole match. Because, like, you know, moves are moves and everything like that. But it was those moments of, like, Nagata, like, firing up that I think made it for me, you know?
No, I definitely love that match. It was a perfectly worked match by both guys. They had their game plans. Nagata worked the left arm at Danielson. Danielson worked Nagata's base. And then the part that I just saw the most when it commented in that cracker of the kicking exchange near the end.
Oh, so good.
That the kick Danielson laid to Nagata's head. Beautiful.
Oh, then, so good.
Then Nagata laid a great enziguri, but actually targeted and hit the left arm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like that kind of detail. It's like you appreciate when you watch it.
Oh man, those little details I think were so great. Like the actual, like really smart wrestling. This is a match that you can go back and rewatch, and again you notice that more little things, and again like that expert like limb work, and the keeping on coming back to the knee of Nagata. Man, I just thought like the more you carefully look at this, the more you just like, this is such smart wrestling, and I'm bloody here for it.
100%. Especially it was the second time around, I noticed a lot more detail, where I took a bit more time, watched through it, and then noticed how good the commentary was also at pointing out the specifics of the match, where like Nigel just makes a key thing besides giving shit to Danielson through the entire match. He makes a note of certain things, and Kevin Kelly's another one. They're very good at getting those kind of details across, so you actually start to picture and see how good these guys are, even more than just what you're seeing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that is the job of a good commentator, you know. And hats off to especially Nigel and Kevin Kelly. I think they're a fantastic team.
100%. I like Shivani definitely adds something, but I was never disappointed when Kevin Kelly and Nigel were working together. And then to top it off, the special love that Eddie showed throughout the match, it just highlighted how much you could tell how much he loves professional wrestling, and then how much he loves Nagata. And well, it's pretty obvious since he does Nagata's Exploder and marked out to the perfection of it during the match and said,
Hey, is it Nagata's Exploder that he does, or Akiyama's?
Oh, yeah, Akiyama's. But Nagata does it to perfection.
Yes. Oh, the Exploder's in this match, man. So good. But yeah, I think it's quite heartwarming, like, just seeing that authentic love that Eddie shows on commentary. Like, you can tell he's just, like, just privileged and, like, popping just to be there that close to actually, you know, see a match like this, which I think is so cool.
Oh, 100%. It's just, like, when Nigel refers to him as, like, a tape trader back in the day and that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, it just sort of more the reason why you love him even more, because of how much he loves it and how much it is his life. It was just that added little thing that just made it a little bit more special as well.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder with this match how much of my love for it was a bit, the opposite of impartial. Partial? Partial? Is that a thing?
or bias.
Bias. That's the word I'm looking for here. But you know what I mean? Because of my deep-seated love for both of these dudes. But, I mean, I don't think that's true, because, like, exactly what we're saying about this crowd, right?
Yeah. It's like, that's the kind of small crowd not necessarily from I know of a big wrestling market. If you're getting a guy in his, I think it was mid 50s, said 55, 56 from Japan that most of those people have never really seen before, and you get Danielson, and they get the crowd pretty much instantaneously from the way they're working to start the match. It's like it has to say something.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And those every single time he did his like, "Fuck you!" like the crowd got so into it, and I got into it, and that was the exact reason why, like, when they had that bit on the turnbuckle, with that fire up where I think Nagata's sort of trying to get him for the exploder, and Danielson's like on top, like, and then there's a bit where Nagata does his big like "Rah!" and then Danielson like has this like wide-eyed like, oh fuck, just like selling it so perfectly. That was the reason that was the moment for me for the art.
I can understand that. It was pretty impressive, and it shows the appreciation Danielson has, which just for Nagata and the history and the talent. It's just one of the reasons why you love him, because of those kind of things, putting over a great of Nagata, but not necessarily in the American market known as well, giving him so much and just bringing out the best in him. It was just perfection for what it was.
Absolutely, and that's the exact kind of stuff that brings like the emotion into a match like this. Takes it away from being just like moves and makes people be like, oh, just gets you in that next level. I just thought this was so great. It was easily the best thing I watched all week.
It's hard to disagree with you there, because it just takes it from following a script to telling a story. For me, just the way they went about it, and just shows those are things you can't really teach. For me, it's like you either you have it or you don't. You have that capability to read the situation and do what's needed to take it to the next level.
And like
those
the instincts, that's the biggest thing to me. It's like at the end of the day, it's those split-second instincts of how you react to a moment, how you sell something, how you put something over. Like, man, both of these guys, some of the best instincts you'll ever see in a professional wrestler.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And then it was the simple Bazaico knee for the 1-2-3 pin.
And it was so good because wasn't it just before that he like went back to the knee to like
that was
like bring that back, tie that into the finish, take advantage of the situation. So perfect.
And it's the one thing I think Danielson does better than Mo, or pretty much everyone, is the timing. Those finer little details. It's like you sort of know what he's going to do, but it's not because it's just because it flows perfectly. There's no misstep. There's no I'm in the wrong position. He just goes with it, and you know he's going to make it look fucking good.
Yeah, and another thing I want to put over for Danielson is the fact that he's done such a great job of building up multiple finishes, which I think is such an art of like a great and a sign of a great wrestler. The fact that it's not so two-dimensional that he hasn't hit the bloody people's whatever the fuck, so there's no way the match is going to end. No, he's done such a great job to teach you that he can win off of the Basaiku knee, off of the cattle mutilation, off of the label lock, off of like a big kick out of nowhere. I think it's so great.
He's perfected it where you don't necessarily see it always coming, where that's where I find a guy like him is unpredictable, and it makes him that much better, where there's other guys who have that set formula. It's going to be one move followed by the next finish within it, and that's a 1-2-3 every single time. And it's like I can get the point of the crowd pops and they know what's going to happen, but it's nice when they don't necessarily know and you get that little bit of surprise pop.
Yeah.
To me, anyway.
I mean, you can still tease stuff. You can still do something else, and then you do it as a near fall. And I just think it's just such a great tool to keep, like you're saying, the crowd on the edge of their seat, knowing that it's not like, oh, yep, this is just going to be a near fall or whatever. But I mean, not many people can quite pull that off. And again, hats off to Danielson as being one of the best ever to be able to.
Well, that's why I'm also looking forward to his match with ZSJ. Isn't that like in a week or something?
Who, sorry?
I swear he's got
Zack Sabre Jr. in Osaka, right. I just saw that today, actually.
Yeah. So it's like, well, that's going to be another one that's the same kind of thing. Both of them have multiple finishes, finish different ways. It's just going to be definitely looking forward to that. This final run is going to be one to watch.
Oh my gosh, man! I'm honestly a little bit nervous going into that Zack Sabre Jr. rematch because like the absolute perfection that was their previous match, like the fucking expectations are going to be through the roof. Like, how is that in any way going to have a chance to be? I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to it, but shit, I don't know how you can possibly top that last one.
Well, that's the thing, is like he's doing this match week after week. He's pumping out these matches. It's like most guys can't do in their career, and he's just doing one after the other. So it's
hectic.
Like, and it's just leading in. It's like he's still got another 6 months to go. It's like I'm just intrigued how many of these bangers he's going to pop out, and how many of these like the Hechicero. It's like how many of these kind of matches is TK going to book in the preceding 6 months for him to fit in?
Man, I think I told you the one I'm the most excited for, being a massive Blue Panther fan, and Blue Panther still being my favorite luchador of all time, of us finally getting that hair versus hair match in Arena Mexico. We need it.
I disagree with you, but I reckon there's definitely going to be an Arena Mexico match by the sound. Like, at least the BCC one. Hopefully the Blue Panther one is not like it's a surprise to anyone that how much Danielson wants that match. So
yeah, and I think he'll be able to pull it off. I mean, obviously Blue Panther is just getting a bit up there in age, but I think the dynamic of Danielson being this ruthless asshole killer, Panther, just you have so much like sympathy. He like plays it so well every time I see him to this day in Arena Mexico, just like looking like he's sort of an old man and he can't quite do it, but then he does and even surprises himself, and then bringing out that Yahweh maestro technical kind of dream match stuff. I'm so stoked for it, man. If
there's one person out there who can do it, it's definitely Danielson to make that match a cracker.
Yep, for sure. All right, man. I know that you're in a bit of a hurry. You have a daughter to go look after.
Yes, very true, very true. I've got to go pick up the little princess, and hopefully she's in a good mood after being with her grandparents.
Oh, nice. Well, say hello to her for me.
Will do. Sorry I had to make this one a little short.
No, that's okay. I think it's good to keep it nice and snappy every now and then.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
Anytime, Christopher. Anytime. Thank you very much. I'll catch you later.
Cheers. Thanks, man. I'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye. All right. There we go. So, thank you very much for Ben for coming on the show. They're a little bit shorter than sometimes in the past, but I think that's a good thing. You know, we can keep you guys on your toes as well. But I definitely do not in any sense want to give the idea that this match was not worth going completely in depth for. Again, I loved every moment of it. Maybe not the most impartial dude in the world, but I just thought it was like wrestling perfection. And if you watch this and you're like, oh, I don't know if I get the hype on Nagata, do yourself a favor, go back and watch some of his amazing defenses as the greatest IWGP heavyweight champion that there ever was. Watch him have an incredible match with Josh Barnett in Barnett's first ever foray into professional wrestling. Maybe the first professional wrestling match for someone, like the greatest one of those of all time. I don't know. Watch his awesome match with Masato Tanaka back from the New Japan 0-1 feud from back in the day. He had another absolute cracker of one with Otani from during that interpromotional feud as well. That I'd highly recommend. But man, all of the love for Yuji Nagata, but all the love to you as well. Thank you, listeners. Thank you for tuning in again. I certainly appreciate it. Big thanks to Social Suplex for allowing me to do this thing, keeping the lights on. You can check out socialsuplex.com. There's a variety of other rad wrestling podcasts on there for you to check out as well. But if you dig this show, if you enjoy it, if you like the wrestling art with Chris Things, tell a friend. If you've got a friend who you think this weirdly specific and extremely niche podcast would then get into it, please do me a favor, let them know. If you feel like doing a little review ski for me on the iTunes, that'd be pretty rad too. You can even do donations on there, but enough about that. You can keep up with this show in the future for new episodes coming out at Chris Things, both on the Twitter and on the Instagram. On the Instagram side of it, you'll also get a variety of all my wrestling art stuff and even other art stuff. Sometimes I do make art that's not of the wrestling variety, but check all of that out. christhings.com.au is where you can even purchase some of those fancy art prints of these illustrations and artworks if you dig them that much. I even have some originals on there as well. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you again for listening, and I think in the near future we're due for another of our artist interviews, so stay tuned for that. Alright, well, thanks guys, and I will see you next week. Bye!